I'll tell you what, it's parky again, and the heating isn't going on. So, the tip of having 3 layers on, you know, with a big jumper over the top. And I sometimes wear 2 pairs of trousers, but I try and avoid that because sometimes you can get a bit warm with 2 pair of trousers on. Always 2 pair of socks. I wear 1 pair of socks and a big pair of hiking socks over the top. And also a dog. Get a dog. Dog keep you warm. Sat on you. So you do alright. As long as you have all these things combined, you do okay when it's bloody freezing. See, I feel the cold a lot more now. With medications I'm on. Blood thinners. Feel the cold a lot more. So it's a matter of... I'm supposed to keep warm. as best as possible, but it's a matter of... Can you put up with putting the heating on for about 8 hours costing you about £3.60 every day? So today was a matter of, when I woke up this morning, it was so fucking cold that I woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning and just didn't get out of bed. Actually did the mathematics. It's bad that it's not a big thing. It's just when it's a day that's as cold as today. It's not going to be like that tomorrow, is it? Yeah, sometimes you'll do the mathematics and am I better off getting up and trying to warm the place up or get warm, or am I better off just staying here because I ain't got nothing to do this morning? You just stay there. That's a good way of keeping warm as well. You take it for granted, you know, if you're out and about, it's not such a big thing, is it? But if you're in all day and it gets cold, it's like you're kind of trapped in it. There's not that many places around where you can go and, you know, manage on somebody else's heating. Just pubs and all like. So yeah, go to the pub and instead of paying £3 something for the gas to keep you warm, go and pay £7 on a pint. And you can stay warm like that, you know. Some false economy. But it's like, this is a thing where, how dangerous that Starmer is. I had a very, very strong idea before he even was elected that we were dealing with this sort of guy, but you got to see him in action to see what they're capable of. And the mouthing off, you can see why. I can see absolutely why all of them European leaders have been excluded from talking to Putin. And Trump's just gone having a word, because that's what it really is all about. They like to think of themselves as being important people. They are not. And the people, the deal, if there's going to be done, it needs to be about the US turning off the tap and Russia. So it's between Russia and America, and it always was. So so it's completely the right thing that Trump should just go and negotiate himself, because nobody else has got any response, and no one else has got any power or leverage. But these European lefties who are in Europe clinging onto power by the fingernails, and in the UK with a massive majority, they are fucking dimwits who've got nothing in mind other than muddying the water. Nothing other than muddying the water, and it's an emotional thing for them. It's ideological. They hate Putin. They have built him up into some kind of ogre. There's a harsh reality of the world, right? I don't mean to be patronising when I say it, but all money spent. And the notion that Putin might want to take Europe, right, is beyond absurd, and I can say why. In the history of the world, right, empires expand to get their hands on raw materials. It's what the Nazis did. That's why they went in. The Nazis, looking for raw materials, headed straight for Russia. Wanting raw materials. They needed oil. Desperately needed oil. The lack of oil is what cost Nazis the war. They were desperate for it. They ran for it. And it's like, Russia has got more oil than anyone. They got more rare earth metals than anyone. They got more basic raw materials than anyone. They don't need your resources. Once upon a time, their ideology wanted to swallow your people. Right? But now Putin's about as far away from a fucking lefty communist as can be, and he's the only thing that works in the way that place has been left as to where it's arguable that the Russians have never recovered from the Second World War. The Second World War be that bad. Be like thousands of towns and villages completely destroyed. An incalculable amount of resources and manpower went into the Second World War on the side of Russia. They never recovered. The communism thing was a journey of absurdity, a descent into absolute fucking madness, but then it'd be a matter of fundamental, but a system as opposed to no system, an attempt to consolidate. It's like they had to have one form of government or another, and it had to be authoritarian. It had to be the way that it was set up, because the place was in a state of collapse. Its resources needed to be. They might have been funny how they managed the resources, the communists, but they had a situation where resources needed to be managed after the Second World War. We talk about the evils of it forever, but I tell you what, after that trauma they'd had, that they became, you know, the state that can allow something like the Gulag Archipelago to happen. So you kind of pass on what you've been learned, and the Russians were absolutely fucking ravaged by the Germans. The Germans. People allow for, they're different people. They're different people now. They've learned. They've become more sophisticated. It's like, have they? Russians be in the world thinking, be in the world since the war, thinking, how many people stood trial? Nuremberg? How many? How many of those fucking support units that followed the push that just killed everybody? Had a good time killing everybody. Like, none of them went to jail. It's like, we killed as many of them as we could find, but none of them went to jail. It's like they're all still living in Germany. They all just handed in the paperwork and answered the questions. What have you been up to? Oh, I was on the Eastern Front. What were you doing? Oh, I was killing kids in Belarus. There's that. Germany, you can't walk away from it. It's like, nah, too many of you guys who've done god-awful, fucking terrible, disgraceful, soul-destroying things, mostly went home. Your boss is hung, but you mostly went home. All the guards in the concentration camps and the like, they mostly went home. But we have to forget about Germany. We have to pretend like, oh, these are different people now, and it'd be a matter of, well, we've sold ourselves that they're gifted and intelligent Germans, efficient. Is that really a joke, that efficiency thing? Because they kill very efficiently, didn't they? Is that always been just a joke about German efficiency, how they went about killing those Jews? Is it just an in-joke that we're supposed to laugh at when we talk about German efficiency? Just saying, there's many levels to the game, isn't there? And come on. it's very relevant to talk about World War Two because World War Two, because of its magnitude in Russia, is the centerpiece of Russia. The Great Patriotic War. It was the event that actually forged a nation that went all the way to fucking Berlin. This is a massive deal, and it's still a massive deal. Everything harks back to that in Russia because it ought to, because they haven't fully recovered from it yet, really. It's like they are, guys, one generation of fucking the most vengeful, hardy, fucking avenging, murderous army, the Red Army. They're what most of their leadership are one generation down from that counter-attacking horde that fucking swept the Nazis aside and fucking rinsed the place. Took everything. I mean, the ones who lived. Not the ones who died, the ones who lived. So it's like a deep, a long-lasting affection for the Germans, absolutely, completely exists amongst the Russians. You know, in the spirit of it, if you start to say, well, how did we end up where we are today? It all points back to World War Two. Something Russia could have done without, you know. But why would Russia find itself invaded for its natural resources? You see countries all over the world get invaded and just say, hey, natural resources. And it's like, all of Russia's got natural resources. Talk about say Borat used to take the piss out of Kazakhstan, right? Borat basically give the country a very bad name just for a joke, and it's like that place is an absolute fucking treasure trove for minerals, treasure trove. It's like that's one of the richest. That's potentially, you know, in the right marketplaces with the right development, an exceptionally rich country. If its resources are in the ground, and the sort of the Western world would like Russian resources to stay in the fucking ground. Oh, that old region. They want the resources to stay in the ground, but the Chinese desperately want those resources and will invest in Russia to get them. It's like, do you know what Russia needs? Well, the people say he'll march into Poland with what? Different thing. Invading Poland's a different thing than fighting the Ukraine, with it being a flat and there being roads and there being. It's just a matter of moving all your gear down a really big highway. Marching to Poland, why, is the thing. What natural resources does Poland have? Do you know what Poland has? People, right? And do you know what the best use of, do you know what Russia's best use of the Polish people would be as? Customers. German people. The Russians can forever get their revenge for the Second World War and say, fuck those Germans. Why? Because we've made them all our customers now. We have a relationship where they fucking listen to us. They don't think of us as backwards. They now need us. They buy our oil and they buy our gas. And the German fucking, you know, it's heart of hearts. It's only being one generation removed from the fucking Nazi fucking toffs. The Nazis were the woke society leftists of the time in Germany, you know. And these bigwigs in German high office, these children of the elite, they're all one generation away from fucking Nazi party membership. And in so trying to do the opposite, have done like the reverse, which is the same. They've become anti-Nazi, which is like, okay, Another Nazi, another kind of Nazi, a different kind of Nazi you've become. You've just changed medicine. You've gone fucking woke. You've opened your borders to a load of Turks. Out of some sense of guilt, which is derived from pride, which is not a healthy thing for any fucking nation to have, really. Not when they're a nation capable of what they did. They're working men, fucking working class Joes out murdering for them. Everybody's always forever looking at it still, aren't they? The Second World War. There's 1,000 stories yet to be told, isn't there? Every day somebody else comes along and ever so slightly revises the version of the history of it we've been told, which is a massive oversimplification. Doesn't paint an accurate picture of the amount of suffering that the world went through. Weird one. David Lynch died recently, right? And he tried to convey a message in that last Twin Peaks thing he did as to where that evil spirit that was occupying people, that could occupy people, where it came from. And he did a whole episode about it, where it came from. And it's like the culmination of the evil, violence, deprivation, sadism, perversion, and just, war that led to the Manhattan Project, and it be the first time the atom bomb was tested. This super evil came into the world. It's like something fucking hopped from another dimension once a government had devised the ultimate weapon of mass murder. And I'm like, that's Lynch, you see. And I'm like, as loud and silly as that was, you really thought about that. It's like, did this evil unleashed by the Second World War's horror never left the world, except for when they died. Those who lived carried this beast into the modern world. I like, not subtle in any way, David, but having thought about it, you probably are onto something. I could make a case for that being so. It's like, what's the limit of what a human can do by way of savage, and it be unpunished and it just move on, but that person lives with that shit forever. That becomes a deep and dark secret. People who keep deep and dark secrets like that usually have very, very, very disjointed and dysfunctional lives, because they've been exposed to some extremely exotic narcotics in some ways. They could forever, you're getting people in the world that have forever got an itch that just can't be scratched by doing anything. Riding a roller coaster doesn't do it for these people anymore. You know what I mean? And you'll get people living with that, and it being something that ends up finding its way into a behaviour pattern that ends up getting passed down to the next generation of people. They have a big problem with that in Ukraine as well. Massive problem with it in Ukraine, because that's what fostered a situation as to where Zelensky could go to war with Russia and his people not overthrow him, because that's what everyone expected to happen. And it didn't. From somewhere they found some national fervour, and it's a matter of, Ukraine isn't really even a fucking nation. Oh, you just base your line of history on the Holodomor and what Stalin did. start pointing to making heroes of this. What they did, making heroes of Ukrainians who collaborated with the Nazis. Your Azov battalion made heroes of the historical units and characters of the Ukrainians who collaborated fully with the Nazis. To radicalise them, to use the symbols and the names and the associations they had to create a radical hatred of the Russians based on the, obviously the Russians of the 1920s and 30s, fundamentally. Because the Ukrainian elite really took a high place amongst the Russian elite. A lot of individuals in that old Ukrainian setup have had their power downsized, now only being in charge of one small former province of the Soviet Union. Once upon a time, the people who were at the high table running the whole fucking thing. It's like that Zelensky can't go to any kind of table. He is, and they know what he is. That's why he's not getting to go. They know who. I know what Zelensky is. There are those out here who, like, yeah, we've seen these before, haven't we? This guy's a figurehead. He's a puppet. He's just out front. He's aloof, and he's a fanatic. And he seems to think that him in lounging around the world on private jets, mouthing off, is somehow, oh, he's so brave to be fighting. It's like, no, he's mouthing off. He's giving a performance. His guys freezing and starving and fucking wounded, waiting to be fucking picked up somewhere right now. They are the ones who are fucking brave. And if you follow the war, he's been spunking them into lost causes and the whole thing. No path to victory. It, in essence, be a whole war based on just wait, help's going to come, someone's going to come and save us, the Americans are going to come and save us, just wait, someone's going to come, they're sending us some 1970s interceptors, some like almost light aircraft, little things, F-16s. Have you ever seen Iron Eagle? F-16s, I get an Iron Eagle. What, Iron Eagle was like made in like 1984? Yeah, it's like, they weren't new then, were they? No, they've been in service since 1974. You said it was 50-year-old planes? Yeah, but they still look cool. They'll make all the difference. It's like, no, they won't make any difference at all. They'll be the easiest plane in the world to swat from the sky from a fucking 100 miles away. Why is that, John? They don't have a stealth capability. What's a stealth capability, John? Oh, it's you reduce the footprint of your magnetic object by as much as you can, right? So what makes a stealth vehicle isn't so much the paint that's reflective they put on it, or absorbent, energy absorbent paint, right? That helps a bit. But the real key to it is not having fucking bombs hanging from your wings that make your silhouette massive, that make you like a great big Batman signs coming. So the secret of a stealth aircraft that can have a better chance against radar is that it hasn't got all its fucking bombs and extra tanks hanging from the wings. There's a way of going in loud and there's a way of going in quietly. And it's a matter of, for those old profile aircraft, it's like the technology in the world was designed in a straight path line how to destroy that kind of plane, how to destroy that. It's like that system, that S-400, right? It's really effective. And it's like, why are the Russians so good at this? It's like, well, when America did Operation Paperclip, right? So did the Russians. The Russians got the really good record. That guy who did the guy who built the Saturn V. I have to think of Eva Braun. That guy, German rocket scientist. He wasn't the best one. He was just one of them. The Russians got the rest of them. And then they started to produce missiles and rockets, and because of the technological edge they got from the Russians, they've been decades ahead of the rest of the world in rocketry for being able to do it cheaply and being able to make them in large numbers. They've been the world leaders in it. Space race, same. That's always a competition as to who can make the best delivery vehicle for weapons. It's like a PR stunt that covers over for the biggest government spending program in the history of the world, the creation of the nuclear arsenals. The space race covers for it. The ultimate weapon is in the world, really. The ultimate weapon in the world is that brand new Elon Musk returnable rocket, because that returnable rocket is also like the largest. It's the biggest cargo carrying vehicle ever to exist. It carries more weight than Saturn V by a hell of a long way, a whole lot more weight. And it's a matter of, that's a weapons platform. You could fill that with missiles and send it into orbit, and then bring it back, fill it up again. That Starship thing that Musk built. It's like the ultimate weapon. Just needs arming with missiles. It's like you think of that. You think of those. What have they got? What's it called? The a hypersonic missile. Right. That goes in essence into space and then comes down on you like a rock, like that. So it just don't matter, going like that down straight on you. So your radar system is like, well, it's there, but it's not. Doesn't seem to be moving. Just sitting straight down. Still late. That thing that Musk's built, fucking just stay up there as a launcher. Spacecraft. Imagine that thing as a sort of a cargo ferry and stuff like that. It's like we've got frightening technology now that if we were to now invest as a world in another phase of an arms race by pretending Putin's the big boss, the amount of money that's going to get spent in space weaponry is going to be the new. It's got to be it is the new thing. It's the new way you can nullify your enemies' extremely hard to defeat air defense systems by hitting them from space. It's like I don't think you people get carried away and say, well, in the war would be a safer place because people be frightened because you could just drop. It's like no, you have a lot of people make a lot of money and the rest of us get to live in fear. We're in a dangerous place with the state of the super weapons. We're in a dangerous place. It only takes, something like they did it. The Russians did it. No one, everyone just. Our media is very narcissistic, very dismissive. Towards the sort of end of the escalation period that Biden pushed on his way out, he escalated the war as much as he possibly could. During that period of escalation, that was a dangerous time. The Russians used a hypersonic missile, or a few of them, to show. I think it was just one, wasn't it? And it had multi-warheads on the way down. And showed something like fireballs dropping from the sky. Bang, 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 bang. Unfettered, undetected, kaboom. And showed them. See, these we've got. You've seen one in action. It's like you put your video out in the world a few years ago of the use of one of your mother of all bombs. Well, how do you like our weapon? We can hit you from fucking space with our hypersonic missile. At that stage, you should be, if you had a brain, but there's never been anyone at the wheel in this war. No one with a brain at the wheel. It's like they're ignorant, they're aloof, and they like to escalate it, because the more it escalates, the more they think, hey, we can make some money here. So that's what they're thinking of. Oh, let's get more into this. Yeah, let's get more entangled in this. The more entangled we are, the more money there is to be made. If that's the level of the game you play in, the battlefield doesn't fucking matter, and you might as well have a load of buffoons commanding your fucking army. Which I think they have. I think they've got loads of buffoons. Our Royal Navy, you know, it's got 25 combat ships in total. Nowadays, 25 combat ships. And over half of them are in for refit or repair. So, in essence, our naval strength stands at about 12 ships, carrier, a couple of missile destroyers. Oh, they're like cruisers, aren't they? They've got a lot of weapons on. We've got 2 or 3 of them. A few frigates. Rest of it's support vessels. All in all, including support vessels, about 45 ships, Royal Navy. Like, we haven't even got a fucking. We haven't got that capability. We've got our Navy has got a capability to be in one place at one time, as one fleet, to be defence, for them to not to be just picked off with a drone. Our Navy's not fit for the modern world. It's not fit for modern warfare. It isn't. Like, John, how do you know that shit? It's like drones coming along. Terrible damage done to fleets at anchor at Sevastopol by a mixture of our long-range missiles and drones. It's like suddenly an aircraft carrier at this moment in time is like, oh fuck, wouldn't it be funny to drop that? Oh, wouldn't we like to see one of them go down? Oh, wouldn't that be a great prize? Oh, wouldn't we like to see the video of that thing go down? Oh, wouldn't we like to take it down with something embarrassing? They took out earlier in the Ukraine war with drone attacks and long-range weapons. They managed to take out like the Russian version of a warship, a missile cruiser. They were able to take a missile cruiser out, weren't they, with like snide action. One of the biggest ships the Russians had. It's sort of its most dangerous ship, or pretty much its flagship on the Black Sea. They destroyed it with cheap new methods and British missiles. I'll tell you something, that Starmer starts running his fucking mouth now, because we had dickheads involved in this before. Dickheads. Right, now we've got a real fucking someone who thinks he knows best type dickhead. That Sunak's one of them guys when he came in, who's like this. Whatever you say. No. Starmer ain't that. He's sticking his fucking oar in. You know what it is for? You know, have you thought about what it is? We said we're gonna send like peacekeepers. We're gonna send soldiers to Ukraine to keep the peace. It's like, you for real? How many are you talking about? Right. How many divisions have we got? Just saying, you know, by way of sending an army to occupy part of Ukraine, because that's what you're talking about here. Are you going to occupy an existing base Or are you going to have you guys bivouac and build a fucking camp? Just saying, for you going to Ukraine with your soldiers, what are you going to do? Are you going to say take an existing base, or are you going to build a new one? Are you going to build a base though? You're talking about sending a fair old force. What we're talking, 10,000 men or something? Well, fuck me. What does the logistics look like for building a base for, or converting a base or occupying a base for 10,000 active troops? And when they're there, what they're going to be doing? What are they going to be doing? Who are they going to be fraternising with? What are they going to find to do in their spare time while they're living in, on base in Ukraine? Is sending your army would imply you give your army something to do other than sit around and do PT. What's your army there for? What are you going to send them to do? The sort of implication as to sending, guys over there is that they might patrol and the like. All you're doing, trying to put a British army is to ask for a situation where they find themselves in a firefight with anyone and call it the Russians. That's what you're doing. You're not adding security. You're putting a great big fucking target on the map and saying, hit us and provoke a war against all of NATO. That's what you're doing. It's a provocation, a big provocation, as to where, this crazy fucking gay British government are going to decide to camp themselves on our fucking border. And it's like, and our way of playing this, because we hide behind other people. We are a shit ass coward nation, and we are big time that. We declare war on nations we don't have borders with all the time. We declared war on Germany because we were hiding behind France. Never thought he'd get as far as here. Oh, France has fallen. Oh, fuck, they're going to blast us to bits from those airfields in the north of France, aren't they? Yes, they are. Oh, we didn't see this coming. Oh, your RAF boys getting on with discovering that radar shit. Well, it's in the works. Well, comes for it, Britain. It's like, I'll tell you something here that's weird. It's a matter of Finland's in NATO, isn't it now? Like Finland. So you look at the map and it just is. It is on the Russian body. It is on the Russian, like that. That's a Western base right on the border. British Army trained there, Finland. Loads of armies trained there for what it might be like to fight against the Russians. They've been doing it since the end of the war, since the end of World War II. It's like Russia needs customers, not enemies. It needs customers. Customers work fine. Customers work great for its oil and its gas. Consumers, cheap power, abundant. That's what works for Russia. That makes it lots of money. And that makes us richer. It's energy. It gets spent. It's like money. It's really, really spendable. We can use that shit. We like it as cheap as we can get it. And it's like they're offering it us next to nothing. They've got the infrastructure. They had the infrastructure, but unfortunately their pipelines have been destroyed by the Ukrainians. It's like they were playing for, the Ukrainians have played for keeps on the side of wrong, on the side of not defended Ukraine, not looked after its people. They call Zelensky a hero, yeah, he's presided over 1 million people dying, and probably 20 times that made refugees scattered to the four winds, as to where his entire tax base has fucking left. Anyone who had money to leave's gone. Anyone who had opportunity to leave's gone. So young people and people with money have disappeared. Scattered to the fucking four winds, all over the world. That's the greater crime here. It is, it's the greater crime. It's like, did you not think what the repercussions might be when you, in the first instance, it's like, the Russians set about an invasion thinking that it would trigger a coup. And they're astonished that they faced opposition to this day. They're still shocked by it. Because if they'd have realised that they were getting themselves into it for good, they were being tricked into a full-on fucking bloodbath, they'd have prepared for it in a different way completely, wouldn't they? They wouldn't have given that Ukrainian army a fucking chance. They wouldn't have given them a chance if they'd have known how they were willing to fight. They'd have gone a different way. They'd have had a completely different set of tactics. And if they'd have known what they were actually facing when they came, they'd have just flattened places, mate. The Russians have been fighting in the Ukraine using just a very small amount, part of its arsenal. A selected amount of equipment. Well, we just need to send all the guns, don't we? Their Air Force is on the ground pretty much. Don't need it no more. Too risky. They might get lucky. But they say they've found better ways of doing it now. It's like they're leading the world in drones. Certain sanctions that have been done against the Russians just to basically the technology for drones is a lot of it's US based, and the sanctions have made it so they can't get that equipment anymore. So they just start getting it from China. China appear to have been more advanced with the drone thing anyway. They're able to produce them a lot cheaper, obviously, because it's China. So what you've done is you've given a test bed to China in its production of military drones. You've given them a test bed. You've let them experiment on in a field of war. These guys who actually fight in wars, you know, they end up learning a hell of a lot about what the weapons are capable of because they actually fucking use them. You couldn't tell me that Britain's nuclear arsenal even works. You know, we've got a Prime Minister mouths off like he can fucking flex. Oh, British troops, British. As if they're the same fucking troops that, you know, were evacuated from Dunkirk and the like. You know, that's not who these people are. These are our armies, kids, led by woke knobheads, if you ask me. Know a lot of ex-service people and who've got this inbuilt sort of almost respect for the government bosses as to, well, that's the chain of command, you know. And it's like some of them I talk to from time to time. It's like I don't want to fight against these guys, but it's like your modern soldier. It's like he might look and talk and hard, man. It's like, but how else he put together when the fucking shells start raining down? And the truth is, nobody knows until the shells start raining down. It's lose-lose. The fun the dickheads will have. Imagine Britain. We've built a military base in Ukraine. Every time anyone throws a rock at it, they're going to say Russians have attacked us with rocks. right? It will be that kind of talk, right, will sabotage any peace process if Britain get involved like that. Because a fundamental of this whole dispute is how close American military bases for many, many years have been getting to Russia. Now, to put a British base into Ukraine. And then also it'd be a matter of that move of Britain moving a force into Ukraine, or mouthing off that it is. It's a matter of Britain probably at this time, if this is going to get hardball negotiation, because negotiation is part of war as well, and war is part of negotiation. If you notice, just before or just after the talks have taken place between Russia and Trump, there's been what they're saying, a significant drone and missile attack against Odessa. Because Russia wants Odessa. They would like Odessa. We know what Russia wants. They want the Black Sea coast back. That's what they want. That's the compensation they're asking. That's the price they're asking to fuck off. Stop the war. That's all they want. They want it all back. All the decent bits, like you can keep the rest of it. We want this. You can keep the farmland, but this if they see, you know, where they say the resource-rich areas of the Donbass myth. It's all good. It's all good for what it's doing. Ukraine, being that great big flat land, is the breadbasket of Europe. But it's also got big reserves of all kinds of untapped natural resources. And why is it got untapped natural resources like that? Well, the place has been pretty much fucking bandit country and hostile territory so many times in history that it appears to have been just ransacked so often and then never really fully rebuilt. So often, so many times, that they never got around to it. There were places where minerals and oil is plentiful, that's pumping just fine. We don't need to we don't even need to discover these materials. We've got plenty already. Suddenly, in a world where they're scrambling now for fucking daft shit for making batteries and solar farms, suddenly those materials for making these batshit crazy things are rare earth metals. So suddenly the West's in the business of all these countries in the East that have got access to all this shit. It's bullshit. It's like Putin is not interested in your net zero shit. He doesn't. But he has pretty much the same attitude about it as I do. I think it's a scam. I think it's literally a magic trick using fresh air as an enemy. It's to turn something invisible into a fucking poisonous weapon. It's just magic. If he sees through it in terms of that, it'd be a matter of, okay, so you're using this magic myth as an excuse to do whatever you need to do. And I'm a bad guy. I don't think Putin's a warlike wronging at all. I think he tried to take limited action and then got dragged into a war. He wasn't expecting what happened. He was expecting something like, anyone could have told you at the time who'd been following it, he'd be like, say, this move's the right move, this is a Putin move. But he's just rolling the tax in. It's a forlorn hope. He's sending a token military force in to send a message. And he'd say he was expecting, whether he is people or is people, and because you've got to have the cooperation of the locals, otherwise it's impossible. They wanted to either assassinate Zelensky or arrest him. It just didn't happen. Early part of the war, but I heard Biden say, but Biden says a lot of things. I'm had to believe him at his word with this thing he said. And he says, first involvement he had when the Ukraine war started, because he was miles off the fucking pulse, right? Miles off, was offering to evacuate Zelensky, according to him. And it's the words of knobheads like Biden and Johnson that's enabled Zelensky to feel like a big shot and actually go ahead and have his war. They're well and truly on the hook, the leaders, Boris Johnson, Joe Biden. They bankrolled the whole thing, and now to this day it's like the Ukrainians, right? They're right to turn around and say you betrayed us, right? They shouldn't have fought in the first place, and they fucking must have known. They must have known what's happened is the only thing that could have happened, because I knew. If I knew, they must have known too. They must. I've turned out to be right. Talk about the thing. Well, yeah, it's right. And not an expert. Just years of just taking in the stories, listening to it all, talking about it, having a good think about it, going to all the sources. Like you can follow the Ukrainian war in The Guardian, but it never reports on any defeat ever by the Ukrainian military. Then you go to History Legends, who does a lot of work. I hope he's quite good. He should have made a name for himself, I think, by now, as being someone who's took an interest in it and just started to follow it real closely. And he's been. You listen to what's going on, the casualties, situations, the modern world being able to. The Russians being putting out a lot of information, photographs, video, that is not making it to our media. He's making it to Telegram, and then he's making it on a YouTube, and people like him know what's going on. So the media blackout from the Russian side is not holding, and that's why someone tried to lock up the guy who owns Telegram in recent times. They want to shut it down so news about the Ukrainian war can stop getting out. That's what that was about. The world of the mainstream doesn't know that the Ukraine get hammered all the time, and it be a matter of this is just a slow retreat. They lose a few guys, they retreat. They lose a few guys, they retreat. They lose a few guys, they retreat. It's like, no. It's like you can't. It's the same thing as other armies have faced in fighting in that part of the world. It's like you're counter-attacking into nothing. You're counter-attacking into wide open spaces. You're exerting strength going nowhere. It's too fucking big. And they're here, they're entrenched. And when you find part of the line where they're not defended, you just get trapped in a pocket. You just... The place is like, right, the Germans used a certain tactic to invade Ukraine and Russia, right? And when obviously, when they did pick the best way of doing it, they'd actually basically worked out the best route to take it out, to cut the place in half, out to what the land was like. With it being so flat, it's possible to... move tanks and things like that quite well if the weather's right and things like that. So you're able to do huge sweeping moves and just surround people and then blast them to pieces with artillery. Right? When the Red Army counterattacked against the Germans, when the tables were turned, they used exactly the same tactics as the Germans used against them. In every way. They just replicated what the Germans did in reverse. And blam, 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 pushed them out. And it's like, what kind of war are we seeing? Flanking moves, encirclements, massive artillery barrages. But the difference is now you don't need a trench full of guys to hold a position. You just need to have eyes on it and the ability to fucking strike out and destroy anything on it. Same tactics, same battlefield. It's like you wanna fight there. You want to send guys who you want to send guys, new guys, fresh guys, green guys, any kind of guys into that where these Russians have got into they've got basically they're organised now. They've got methodology. They've got experience now in all of the tricky job units like assault troops. You know, after you've blown the place to bits, those who go in and clean out whatever's left. Those kind of guys. It's like they've become very experienced now. And it's a matter of war's been going on so long, they've been rotated out 2 and 3 times. Russia have not got a manpower crisis. Ukraine have got a severe manpower crisis now. To continue to fight the war, a severe manpower crisis. It's 2 years ago since they were showing young blokes, and some of them looked like little kids. You know, like you get it where a truck full of 18 and 19-year-old kids. Some 19-year-old kids only look 15, don't they? So people see, oh shit, they look about 15. Well, they'd be 19-year-old kids. But the 19-year-old kids have all been sent to the front and spunked a long time ago. So the methodology now they've got for recruiting new people into the army is to basically pay them lots of money to fight. Lots of money. So just trying to bribe people to join. Really bribe people to join. They've already done all their conscription. It's done with. They did it. They sent those guys. They're all dead. Or done for. Or done fighting. They have fucking ruined their male population. Destroyed them. And now they're asking for more. And they've got no manpower left. They can be sent all the weapons in the fucking world. They've got no manpower. I don't care about your weapons of destruction. Fundamentally, at the end of the day, you do need ground troops to take somewhere. For when it's over. You can control a territory by being able to destroy anything on it from distance. But to hold it, you do need boots on the ground. To make its amenities available, like the road and the like, you do need security checkpoints, spotters. It's like that war, right? You inject a lot of strength into the Ukrainian side of it. Say give them a load of long-range missiles to destroy some logistics hubs. So they've got more logistics hubs, it's just that whatever you've blown up, they'll have to just come from further away. It's still going to come. Oh dear, you've blown up a dump full of shells. Oh dear. Okay, well, we won't fire them at you now, but the next delivery we will. Oh, it just means you're not getting shelled. Well, we're not going to move this week. We're going to just be sat here. And you're still not going to do anything about us. It's like every fucking plan that's been put out by the Ukrainians to somehow, win back something asinine. They've had the go ahead to use from the Americans just said they could do it. You can do that. The Americans. We've decided that you can use cluster munitions, banned weapons. Little mines drop from the air. Bombs full of mines that can either be set to all detonate or be set to be a minefield. Push of a button. But with them, there's always a few duds and a few go off. But it's very, very nasty reactive minefields. Now, they're banned weapon, cluster munitions. No one's allowed to use them, but the US had loads of them, and all kinds of governments around the world had lots of them, and they wanted to sell them, and they were able to sell them to the Ukraine, so they used them. So Princess Diana's nightmare of mines, unexploded mines in all these water zones, the people everyone who gets struck by a stray mine is innocent. Right? That's bad. Right? That's bad. She was onto something when she did that landmine awareness. Leftover munitions to kill a lot of people. And there'll be more leftover munitions. Because the place has been, in essence, mines are used as, they're in essence, they're not to destroy, they're what's called an obstacle. They're deadly, but they're an obstacle. They're a battlefield obstacle. They'll take your time, they'll slow you down, and while you're dicking around, clearing a minefield, you are vulnerable. And we've got our guns trained on the minefield. And we can see it. That's the minefield. It's an obstacle. Same way as people cry about, they've used white phosphorus on those people. And it's like, no, they're allowed to use it. It's not a war crime, that. They're allowed to. Yeah, they're allowed to use it as an obstacle. It's like, if you want to block access to a thing or a street, say you want to block a street, you want it to block a way, you can in essence create a false wall in a urban battlefield situation by dropping a white phosphorus bomb. You drop a white phosphorus bomb and it sits there as a fucking cloud that will burn you alive. So you're not going there, are you? So that's what it's like. They're allowed to use it for that. If you decide to run into the white phosphorus cloud and set on fire, that's on you. It's a way of building a wall on a battlefield, a white phosphorus cloud, and you're allowed to use it for that. Legal under the old illegal weapons law. Illegal to drop that. Legal. When people say that's illegal. No, you can't target people with it. You can't drop it just on troops, but you can use it as an obstacle, and it's better as an obstacle. It's actually better. It works better. Fuck no. We're not going that way. We should. You know, it's a way of forcing troops on a battlefield to surrender. It's like, right, this is your escape path. Bang, white phosphorus cloud, and here we are. Do you want to put your guns down and we can talk about this? Good one. But you hear people say, don't you? They've used white phosphorus. Yeah, they use it all the time. Yeah, but you say minefields. Oh, suddenly Ukraine, the good guys are allowed to use illegal weapons. About that, isn't that handy for them? Because say there was a lot of them things expensive, paid for, lying around. But these things need to be launched or dropped. We need to get these off the shelves because we're not allowed to use them. Oh, let's pump them into this war. Seems the Geneva Convention and the like, and the rights of the Ukrainian soldiers and Russian soldiers. It's like fuck them. The last consideration in this war has been the soldier. The last consideration, and he's the one who's paid the price. He's the one who's done all the fighting. It's like this just keeps getting better and better. Our Prime Minister, who thinks he's a big shot now, he thinks he's like Churchill because of fucking crackpot narcissist fantasies. He's now sticking his fucking oar in, mouthing off. Hard man. Oh, I'm an international fucking statesman, hard man. And he doesn't know the first thing about what's been going on in that long time dispute. He sees it as purely an ideological struggle against a tyrant. It's like, if you're right, that just might be a tactic. He might just be lying. He might have a real position and he's just lying. But if he believes that true, he's going to get us in a lot of trouble with his mouth. Starmer is going to get us in. He's going to get them all into a lot of trouble It's like he really does need to be excluded from any negotiation of this war because he's a fucking incompetent idiot who shouldn't be running his mouth. It might be good, right, if during this process the media might try and really take him out over it, because he doesn't fucking know what he's doing. The more he talks, the safer we'll all be. The more he talks, because his rhetoric is more dangerous than Trump's could ever get near. I'm sending troops to Ukraine. It's like, you think Russians are going to stand for that? This whole thing's about keeping US air bases out of Ukraine. Rocket sites, missile sites. You think they're going to win a war because they've won? They're going to win a war and they have to make some concession as to what, on ostensibly what would be their territory, they're to have a British base. It's like, shut the fuck up, you idiot. Shut the fuck up.